excited to have Pete and Makoto here with us talking all things music and creativity. Before I quickly hand it over to Pete and Makoto, if everyone can just make sure that their mics are on mute, and if there's any questions or anything that you have, feel free to chuck them in the chat, and we can ask them towards the end. So we're going to start off with Pete and Makoto doing a 5-minute intro each, and then kick into a bit of a Q&A. So Pete, do you want to start off?
Yeah, thank you very much. I will do. Just going to get some slides up. Oh, yeah. So I've known Makoto for quite some time now. Oh, there we are. I found this new function on this thing so I can see myself. So I've known Makoto for quite a long time now, and we play together in lots of different places. I'm just music. A number of years ago, in 2000, this is where I live. This is Morecambe. This is the sea. I'm just sitting on this boat at the moment, out in the middle of the ocean. But a few years ago, we got an award for the project I was doing called Art06, which was for our work. And I realized that the people who came up to see us had never heard the music we were making. And I went, this is really strange. We're getting an award for doing community music work, but actually, nobody knows what kind of music we're making. And I went, it's really strange. You know, next time I get any kind of praise, I want the music to be more at the front. And there are two kinds of stuff that I wanted to just kind of open up in this thing. One is how me as a creative musician, I sometimes love to make music in the context of the stuff that lasts for ages. So this might be a project like The Long Walk, which was a response to a tragedy where I live, that then took me to Hong Kong and took me to work with communities and took songs that I wrote in those places. We performed with professional musicians and communities, and we made extraordinarily high, what I would love to think is quite high quality music, but working within a community setting. And within that, I was writing songs that some of them I've been singing now for 12 years. This song about living by the side of the sea, which you could sing, try singing the little bits with the in the bowl. It goes, you get cold, you get wet, you get full of sand when you live by the side of the sea. You can do that. When you live by the side of the sea. I can see your face moving if you do it. You can swim in the waves, fish for fish, dann it shoots high ambient. Delicious fish, fish for free when you live by the side of the sea. You can build sandcastles, paddle and surf when you live by the side of the sea. It's a song that just keeps on getting reinvented. Here written, those next set of words were about being in Hong Kong. So there is one set of my creativity within community music, which is about really making extraordinary music that often comes from me working in the context with other people. And then there's the other kind of music and creativity, which is just about playing in the moment. And that can be being on the street in the umbrella times, talking to somebody and making a song up from the words that they were talking about. So literally just taking the words and turning it into a song. Or as happened last week at the end of our session, gathering words from different people and making a song just like that in 5 minutes and inventing it and then forgetting it. You know, we did record it, but as far as I'm concerned, it was something for that moment that appeared and then disappeared. And that's cool by me. That's absolutely fine. And that could be in a tent with some travelers, with some Gypsy Roma travelers in the north of England. Or it could be with a group of people on the street in Shenzhen. In all of those places, I love being in the moment. And it's so difficult when you're in the moment on Zoom to make music with people. But one of the things that I use in a lot of those situations is just accepting everything, accepting all the words that come up. Or as with a dice, as with this dice now. Can you see the dice? Yeah, give me a nod. Can you see my dice? So now I'm going to roll the dice. And let's see what numbers we get. 2. 5, 6, 6, 5, 2 more, let's do 2 more. 6, it's not a loaded dice, I promise you. 5. So I've now got my little melody. Can you see that? 2, 5, 6, 6, 5, 6, 5. And now, Makoto, what note shall I start on? Tell me, what note shall I start on?
Starting from G, please.
G. So now my melody goes. Here's number 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 5. How I like to cut my hair every morning in the spring. How I like to cut my hair. I've got some cutters for my dog. I haven't got a dog, but I've got a cat. So in that way, the kind of play that I like to do is all about just what's dropping in now and what can we make. And how can, and this is the critical thing, how can the group of people I'm working with feel that the music that's being created is theirs? It's not mine. It's happened because I'm in the room with them. And it's happened because we've been together at that moment and at that time. So those are sort of like 3 things. One is my creativity and finding a context for working with it. The second one being just playing and taking what's there. And the third one being making sure that you feel that you have some ownership over the music, not just the lyrics, but the music as well. There's my 5 minutes. I timed myself roughly. So Makoto.
You will.
Okay, fantastic, very quick, intensive, dense presentation. Thank you, Pete. So now my turn. I'm not sure I can speak such good manner, but I try. So yeah, as Pete told, Pete and I had relationship about 16 years, and we have played music together in England, in Japan, and now online. This was a photo we did in 2006 in Japan. Pete was here for one-man band. Bigger, yeah, this one. This is a welcome opera, totally divided with the community group. We did. So first thing I want to tell is mistakes are welcome for creation. For me, mistakes or misunderstanding are always welcome. As Pete told, accepting everything, anything is okay. Nothing is wrong. This is one of my philosophy, to make a good, interesting music for me, or to make the world better. So my standing point is always anti-exclusion. So if you said, this note is wrong, this is exclusion. But if I am as an anti-exclusion, this isn't familiar to me, but it's interesting. It's okay, or even better than okay. So let's take that. So that kind of approach. So if somebody is out of tune, this is not out of tune. This is creation of new melody or new dissonant harmony. Or if somebody is not in time, out of time, this can be polyrhythm or a new approach of rhythmic, complex rhythm. So facilitation of the workshop is how I can be, how I don't exclude somebody, how we can include different way as like a dissonant harmony or polyrhythm or something like that. Misunderstanding are always welcome for creation. If we understand everything, we don't have to communicate. If we don't understand each other, that's why we misunderstand and to create something new. So for example, I copy my Japanese, for example, if you don't speak Japanese, it's difficult to copy or understand my Japanese. For example, can you say, 私は相撲が大好きでいつもテレビで見ています。Pete, could you copy?
私も大好きで
Yes, fantastic. So he's tried to copy, but it's impossible to copy. For example, I made a song in Japanese. 神がいるトイレを流す便所に行こう。This means you need toilet paper in toilet. Let's go to toilet to flush. But I asked English children to try to imitate, and they made a new English version of the sound translation. Come here, you toilet roll. Now ask you Ben join the echo. So this misunderstanding became a creation. Or when we did Waiton Opera in 2005, I told Japanese word せっかくだから, but English people catch like say kokera tegara. That became a witch's chant. Say kokera kokera toy, tegara tegara tekse, kokera kokera toy, tegara tegara tekse. And then we can build a new witch language through this kind of discommunication, misunderstanding, and not understanding each other. So another question is, what is ability or disability in creative music? So for example, this example 2, when I worked with elderly people many years ago, one of the elderly had a Parkinson's disease. So his hands are always shaking. But I recognize his tremolo was fantastic. He played always automatic tremolo. So then everybody tried tremolo. He was the best player. He became the kind of the professional tremolo player using a bell. So this is a disability, but also we can see it as an ability in a different perspective. Or when I made a song with elderly people, they forgot their song easily because their memory is very good. But they try to remember the song we made, but always they sang something differently. That became a new creation. So I said, oh, you made a new line. Okay, let's add that. Then we sang the song again. Another lady, she didn't remember, invent something new. So disability can be ability for creation. And maybe, and my relationship in Hong Kong, with Hong Kong is 2 years ago, I did a 3-month residency for IDR, the art project at the Jockey Club Rehabilitation Complex. And I stayed at the big center for the people with learning disability, and about 1,000 people lived in that center, like Block A, 5 different centers, Block B, 5 different, and I did many different sessions in different centers. And I did 17 different projects. And then I thought out, maybe I can, my role is to make a connection between outside the center and inside the center. So we did a concert on the tram of Hong Kong, and those service users are on the tram and playing music towards the city. Normally they are inside the city and no relationship with people outside their society, but they played, and this guy in front of the tram, because the tram was quite shaky, I was afraid it's dangerous, so I asked him to sit on the chair, but he stood up in front of the tram and asked to help us to support him like this, and he was always playing on the tram and very energetic, like this. 2 persons are supporting his, but it's quite. And also with CCCD, we did event, outdoor event, and it is without stage, without no border between stage and audience, no border between music and dance, music and visual art, no border between service users of JCRC and local children. And we did this kind of open space for the creation, communication, collaboration. That is my brief 5 minutes. Thank you.
No, you've both done really well to stay on time. You know, and as you can see, it's really exciting because I don't think between the two of you, I don't think in terms of your kind of creativity and your work, it's always so colorful and rich and exciting. You know, and it's always great to see.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that, yeah, absolutely, it's about that, the connections making between, I mean, I just love, so after Makoto did that residency, I just love the way things follow on, and this creative process allows them to follow on. After that, he then, another center owned by the same hospital group asked me to do a residency. And so for the last 2 years, whenever I've been going to Hong Kong, I've been working in this whole other district of Hong Kong and creating a different kind of residency in this other center, and doing exactly the same thing as Makoto, just going to a group and seeing what follows. And we've written some beautiful little songs. One of the things you'll see at the very end of this is a piece that was written by an elders a cappella group, and then by one of my groups in England, and we've made a film of this sort of collaboration between the two. So, you know, things just follow and follow if you just listen and you stay open and yeah, I love that.
So one project make a new project make a kind of child project, grandchild project. So keep going, like your long walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely connecting the dots between all the projects.
And then trying to find at times moments to make extraordinary pieces of music. So one of Makoto's things was what's a symphony, and I love making big pieces. So, you know, making the tiny song, you know, my like little ba 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 ba, you know, little song I made today, but then making pieces that may be an hour long as well, that have a different, that take people on a different creative and performance journey. And Makoto, you've done that sort of thing with orchestras.
Yes. I'm working with the Japan Century Symphony Orchestra, so sometimes working with professional musicians and local amateur people, like 60 people together. And also in the project Kotaro is going to present later, I did a concert by 1010 musician players. Can I show some photos of that one?
Yeah.
Okay. So when we share screen, this is a concert in the this one. I did a concert with 1010 people because in 2011 in Japan, big earthquake happened, and after the nuclear accident, people are quite like separated. Some people are totally for the nuclear energy, some people are totally against nuclear energy, and no communication between, big gap to different standing point. And I thought I should involve many people together and have a chance to communicate with each other. That's why I set the concert by 1010 people. And because the name of 10 people, 1010 is that the town I did the community music project is called Senju, and in Japanese, sen means 1000, ju means 10. So this is a pun, and 1010 people in Senju I did, and involving some school brass band or a guitarist or trombone or and also some from the railway station, also they came to join the handmade whistle, and also some food also became an instrument, and roof tiles also became an instrument playing by the golf ball, and jumping roll became the conductor of the drummers, and playing ball became a conductor. We involved not only the so-called music, but also sports or some movement, dance or whatever. So like Pete did a festival on the coast, on the beach, a kite festival. Kite is normally no connection with music, but he did a project about kite and music. And people can enjoy the kite and also music as well. So me, I'm more interested in how to make a connection, something totally not related, but we can make a connection with music. That's what I interested in. And also, as Pete told, sorry, because I also, as a musician, I also interested in creating extraordinary music. And to make extraordinary music, I need a different kind of approach, different kind of opinion, different kind of sense or whatever. So that's why I need a diversity in music, not only socially inclusion, but also music inclusion. I need musical inclusion of different music, different cultures. That's why I try to make extraordinary creative music. So that's really I sympathy with Pete about that.
Yeah.
And his street band symphony is very interesting. He involved many different street musicians in the structure of symphony. Could you tell us about that?
Yeah, and then I've got a question, I think. But this was I was brought up with classical music, so I have a passion for classical music and for the place that you can take people on, which is longer than a song. So a musical journey that may be an hour long, and the symphony structure with its 4 movements I've always loved. So I made a piece which had the structure of a 4-movement symphony, of a first movement with a first theme and a second theme, a slow movement which was a set of variations, a third movement which was a samba, a bhangra, and a samba, which is like minuet and trio, and the last movement which was a rondo. So we took people on this musical journey. I had about 120 musicians, and the sound was popular music. The sound was music that we would all be very familiar with listening to on Radio 1, Radio 2, you know, very popular, but the structure and the musical journey was of a different scale. And I think both of us, I think that's one aspect of our creative play that we really like, that sense of small ideas, big vision. I suppose maybe that's where it comes to. Yeah. Did you have something you were going to?
Yeah, no, I was just going to, a question that kind of flows really nicely. It's almost half the question, what both of you were just speaking about. You know, when you, I guess, look at your travel and the work that you've done across the globe, the experiences that you've created through these projects and working with diverse communities, how has all this work added to your creativity and your individual journey as creators and teachers? And I think as well to both of you, but then also specifically to Pete, your work in the Asia Pacific region with that influence to you.
In so many ways, the sounds that I pick up, the languages, just that. I mean, the key thing is actually realizing that particularly because the kind of music making that I'm making, translates to so many different cultures. What the most specific one in working in Hong Kong was the limitation of writing songs in Hong Kong because of the language and because of the tonal language, and that actually you have to spend so much more time working on the words, because the words create the melody, and that was just. But I've become very adept at working with translators to do that. But then once you got the words, you got the melody. You know, that was just a really simple, but then, I've always loved the melodica, but, you know, Makoto, meeting Makoto and playing the melodica. You know, just a lovely thing. And, you know, so you pick up an instrument from somebody and then you start playing it and then it becomes part of your personality. And the melodica has been just one of those things. So the traveling, it's just continually richens the experience. Yeah, and the sense of play. Yeah, and also the ability to say, you know, so in Hong Kong, like you can't, what's happening in Hong Kong at the moment is so terrible. I mean, for all of my colleagues there, yeah, I don't know quite how you're dealing with it day to day, but we pick this news up, and how much of the work that we've tried to do in Hong Kong, which is about making communities feel better about themselves, making them see themselves, giving resilience to people and communities. So there's a political angle to the creativity as well, which I think is really interesting. And I've been inspired by by artists and musicians working in Hong Kong, particularly by their resilience and the way that they've managed to cope with the regime change and everything that's happening there. That's a bit of me. Makoto, are you in traveling?
Yeah. Could I say something different about the politics a little bit? In 1970s, there was a Filipino composer called Jose Maceda. He was totally supported by Marcos government, but because he used the traditional culture of the Philippines, but for his project, for example, he did music played in 20 different radio stations, and he played a different sound of the bamboo in 20 different radio stations, and encouraged people to gather to listen different channels each other. But for me, this was kind of his secret message for people to gather under the control of the government. They are not allowed to gather more than 3 people at that time, but Jose Maceda used government money and did the project, but he did such a very interesting approach to people. He didn't tell any message in his music, but this is what I like, his approach. So that your story reminds me about that, and I feel that the situation in Hong Kong really terrible, and I don't know what to do, but we have to find out the way through music. We can make a project in different directions. So we have to find a way. That about the traveling, yeah, of course, I go to travel different countries, different places. When I went to Hong Kong, I didn't know anything about Hong Kong, and so. But for me, misunderstanding, miscommunication is a very good way for the communication. If I pronounce Cantonese wrong, in a wrong pronunciation, it's funny, and it's kind of good. Make more funny for the communication if I speak wrong Cantonese. Yeah. And also working with dementia elderly people, they were fantastic Cantonese language teacher, because they forgot everything. They repeat song many times, but they were not bored at all. So I asked one sentence. They were taught. If I work, no other people, they were bored because my memory was so bad. But they are good teacher, and like I learned lots of Cantonese language.
All right, so we've got about 5 minutes or so left. We've got 3 questions in the chat, so I'm gonna try to do those and just get quick minute responses from you. I hope I'm pronouncing this correctly. Janelise from South Africa has asked, what are the things you do first when you enter a space to create this openness and playfulness required for your work?
For me, usually make friends. Find some way to make friends. That's, and that might be through shaking hands. It might be through just some very simple rhythm work. But it's always the first thing for me is to make friends and to make people feel as easy. And quite often that's rhythmic.
Yeah, for example, today, this afternoon, for this conference, what I need is same. I play the instrument, I say hello. I need to make the atmosphere for the creative good for the discussion. If I
Yes.
sit like this, be quiet. It takes time to start conversation, but yeah, at first, hello, Pete, hi, everybody, come on.
Hello.
And smile or talk or play or shake hands. Same, yeah.
Yeah, no, awesome. It's so true. When you guys started playing, it was beautiful. It was a nice surprise and really kind of eased people into the room. So the next question is from Jillian. You have both worked in so many diverse settings. Could you talk some more about the processes you use to kickstart creativity within groups that do not share your own cultural background or cultural knowledge, and where there might be shyness or inhibitions? You kind of just spoke a little bit on that. And if you find yourself working in different ways in order to embrace cultural differences and cultural diversity, diverse ways of engaging with musical creativity.
Yeah, of course. Different cultures. Some common sense is different. For example, when I work in France, I brought many different instruments and asked children to take whatever they want. Then one girl wanted to play one instrument, another girl wanted this instrument, and they insisted, I need this. She said, and all the teachers tried to persuade her or him, but no, they said no. So we have to wait for that for 20 minutes or something like that. This didn't happen in Japan or in England. So, but in France, of course, insisting his own right is very important, and in the culture. So that's why after that, in France, this method is not good. So I asked everybody which one you like, and if 2%, I need to set a rule about if 2% want to use one instrument, how to do. Before.
And so Makoto, is that something that you do? You know, if you're working in a different setting, in a different cultural setting, you kind of adapt as you go, and I guess take
I need to adapt myself in that culture. Otherwise, so at first I need to understand. So at first I do my own approach. Then I have to make it fit.
Yeah. And for me, that it's always finding something that people can identify with. You know, so food is often such a good way to start writing music or writing songs or anything, or just when finding, if that was the question, was how, you know, do I work in different ways? Yes, I always work in different ways depending on the group that I'm going to, but it's always trying to find something that people can identify with, find something that people have got a story to tell. You know, I think a lot of the music I make it comes from stories, people's stories, and then those stories allow music to come out, and it's just finding that trigger, finding that thing that kind of goes, oh yeah, I've got something I can say about that. You know, let's talk about hair. You know, we can easily now write a song about hair. You know, if we wanted to, by the end of this session, we'd have a great song about everybody's relationship to hair during lockdown. You know, and there's so many rich stories. We've all got.
Well, I think Pete's
got a relationship to hair, you know, about a very easy thing that we all have in common, even those of us who have little hair, you know, all of that. So it's fine. That is one of those things.
Cool. I think so the final question.
Going to where people are.
Final question.
Yeah. So the final question before we end this discussion, this great chat, is from Bridie, and her question is: how have you managed to maintain connection and creativity with fellow community musicians during lockdown? How do you manage to be in the moment and playful with all of the restrictions?
Yes. So I do lots of online projects. Even with the people with learning disability in Hong Kong, I do sessions through Zoom, and it is sometimes difficult, of course, but still I can enjoy this kind of time lag or not on time, because out of time, it is also welcome. or low quality sound, also welcome. If it is welcome, we can do a new approach of making music. So now I'm doing lots of online sessions with people with different countries, different places. Sometimes Hong Kong people and Japan people together, as we did 3 weeks ago. Or how about Pete?
Yeah, I mean, I've been doing less direct work, but there's been such a wealth of practice sharing over this last 6 months with the community music activity, with the ISME conference over the summer, with these now. Actually, I feel more connected in terms of the community music network of musicians and facilitators. I feel more connected and more enriched by that than I have done for years, actually, because I've had so much contact with people. But I've also just in terms of me as a creative musician, there's a lot of old people's homes, care homes in our district. And I've been going out 4 times, 5 times a week and playing outside, singing songs, making songs, and singing outside the centres, windows open, doors open. And that's been, you know, they were the community, that was the only gig actually for months in England. The only gig was playing to old people. And they just loved it because they couldn't see their families, but we were there. And then I started getting other musicians saying, can I come and play with you? And suddenly we had these socially distanced bands playing outside care homes. And it was just delightful. And people going, yeah, that's my gig. I've got a gig. Finally, I've got a gig, you know, after 2 months. And that was a delightful and very easy service to offer to the community. Yeah.
Thank you.
It's exciting. You get so excited once you're able to physically see people after being in lockdown for so long. But thank you so much, Makoto and Pete, for sharing with us. It's been really great to get an insight into your work and I guess in your response, you know, to how you do what you do and how you share your incredible creativity and inspiration with other people. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great pleasure. Thank you.
Great pleasure. Thank you, Viv, for the moderating.
No, it's my pleasure. I'm honored. So everyone who is in the room at the moment, if you haven't already, we're about to jump straight into the breakout rooms. If you haven't added a number at the beginning of your name, beginning or end, room 1 is the PK presentations, room 2 is the workshop, and room 3 is the round table. So please change up your names now so that Anne can do her magical powers behind the scenes and push everyone into the right breakout rooms.
Shall I just put people in the room?
Yeah, I think start moving people in because then you can see who's left.
Okay.
See you around.